Today we're looking at the seasonal Ice Tribe banner in Fire Emblem Heroes. I'm not entirely sure the Ice Tribe in Fates wore figure skates, but that seems to be the theme for this banner. For simplicity though, I am just going to refer to these alts as Ice Tribe alts, mainly because Felicia and Flora are both here. Joining them will be Thea, and then bringing up the rear will be duo Fjorm and Nifl. We'll talk about everyone's stats and skills, plus discuss some general playstyle and build ideas. The 4-star focus unit of the banner is Ice Tribe Flora. You can get her at 4-star, 5-star rarity. Flora has had some unique alts in Fae, and that's going to continue here. She will be a colorless Dagger Cavalier, and for stats, she has 40 HP, 47 attack, 21 speed, 31 defense, and 46 res. Flora has an attack super boon, and 47 is right behind the top for the Dagger class. Her 36 base res will tie with Summer Clan and Yukimura for the highest res dagger. The next highest res daggers after those two are Flora's other two alts, so checks out. Ice Tribe Flora is basically a slightly faster Yukimura, both are rather unique unit types. For old skills, Flora has glazes for some big damage specials. She has attack and res catch 3, which is on D-mode Vanessa. Flora then has Disarm Trap 3, purely for Aether Raids unless you get the Disarm Trap 4 or Potent Disarm. Ice Tribe Flora's dagger is the Ice Dagger Plus. This 12 might weapon has adaptive damage, calculating damage using the lore of the foe's defensive res. If unit initiates combat or is within 2 spaces of an ally, grant +5 to all stats and a free follow-up attack. Last, the unit gains 50% DR piercing on all attacks. We rarely get inheritables with free follow-up attacks, and now we got a free follow-up dagger with 50% DR piercing. That is pretty wild. On top of all this, Flora just stole Felicia's Refine, giving adaptive damage out. We've gotten some decent daggers lately, but it's pretty tough to beat 50% DR piercing. For infantry, they can combine this with No Follow-Up or Tempo 4 to get 75% DR piercing, and that may be easier to use than trying to charge the 4 cooldown lethality. The current 2 arcane daggers both focus on cooldown though, but if you don't want to use lethality for DR piercing, then Ice Dagger Plus seems like a decent option. For other class types without DR piercing skills, Ice Dagger is fantastic, and the free follow-up works for fast or slow daggers like Flora here. Just based on her stats, Flora can contribute to any team with res-based devils such as Ploy or Sabotage. Defense Res Ploy is a nice pairing with Ice Dagger thanks to the adaptive damage, and Exposure is another 10 true damage. Since Ice Dagger has 50% piercing, it can make for a decent one-shot type build if you don't think follow-ups are gonna happen. Flora can run Flared Strike for 14 instant damage and then true damage from Assassin Strike. Long-range initiations as a ranged cav are always deadly, but Flora is open to getting doubled if she can't finish that job in 1 or 2 shots. In addition, if you want more flat resistance for the Ploy activation, you need to run Still or Crystalline Water in the A slot, and doing that may take away from some instant damage. Double Still Water skills also will drop Flora's okay defense stat, but this setup is more about just having a good one-hit burst while having a deal of support for your team. Another way to go about combat is just stacking damage reduction. Flora has okay defense and high res. Remote Mirror or Sturdy adds 30% DR, and you can also use Brash Assault 4. Fleeting Echo as well. One very interesting skill for this type of build is Pulse Smog. Brand new from Legendary Melchez, Pulse Smog is a dagger only skill. Having access to Scowl is incredible, and if Flora only needs to tank a counterattack from a basic, then her % DR could be enough to survive. It also heavily messes up DR piercing specials, which is one of the benefits from the popular Lagu's Friend. For some other skills, Attack and Res Catch is fine, and if you have that happy comment manual, you can give Flora Attack and Res Catch 4 and Attack and Res Far Trace 3. With adaptive damage, that's a fine stat variant. If the enemy doesn't have defense no follow-up, you can use Desperation 4 with Ice Dagger's free follow-up. Brave Bernie also works for this. For Disarm Trap, the Tier 4 has offense and a fall, which is fine, but I don't know if Potent Disarm is worth trying to make work. You need a lot of speed for that. Flora can make fine use of something like Attack Smoke 4 to get a fall prevention status, and something like Insight offers self-buffs. While lethality is fun, dagger cavs like Flora only have Heavy Blade as a cooldown option. This is why Ice Dagger could be better to use. If you use Arcane Void, that has Slang plus Breath type cooldown, but now you need lethality to proc for any DR piercing. Ice Dagger just having that always active is pretty useful. Overall, I would say being a Ploy support is the safest contribution to any team for Flora. If you want to be combative, Pulse Smog is very interesting. However, if you use Arcane Void, that actually has a built-in sabotage effect, so Ploy debuffs get doubled there. You could stack up on that with attack debuffs, and it's possible to get big damage icebergs or glazes easier with that weapon. Still, I think Ice Dagger has its uses, definitely a viable inheritable when % DR is all over the place. Next, we have Ice Tribe Thea. She's going to be a sword flyer with 39 HP, 43 attack, 47 speed, 27 defense, and 39 res. Thea has a speed super boom and is just a very speedy unit with decent attack. Her defense is a bit low for a melee unit, but it's paired with 39 res. This is because Thea is another Pegasus Rift unit, still pretty new. Pegasus Rift does a speed plus res check with the enemy. If Thea wins, she gets 10 true damage and flat DR if she has 40 res. She also has Omni Breaker, and she increases the enemy's speed roll for doubling by 20. In addition to this newish skill, Thea has the classic Iceberg special. Ice Tribe Thea does need to be respected due to her Alien Frostblade. 16 might every turn if within 2 spaces of an ally. Grant triangle attack and Conto 1 statuses to those allies for 1 turn. For combat, Thea has excited specials. If she initiates or is within 2 spaces of an ally, she gains bonus stats equal to 5 plus the number of dragon flowers on Thea times 2. If you use Thea, you should pay her 5 dragon flowers fee, and she's going to get a plus 15 to all stats all the time. In addition, like every other weapon this month, Thea has 50% DR piercing. She will reduce first attacks with an S by 7 flat damage. Last, Thea gets Protect cooldown. Thea is bringing back Triangle Attack from her harmonic pairing with Catria. This powerful status grants Brave attacks if you initiate while 2 other Triangle Attack units are within 2 spaces. With Conto 1, Thea's team has more options to position, and this can also help with warping allies forward. If you activate Triangle Attack, Thea gets Brave hits. With Slang and Breath type cooldown, this means she charges Iceberg on hit 1, then procs it on hit 2. She has 50% DR piercing, which is excellent with Brave hits, and then 15 attack on top. If Thea needs a tank at hit, she has 7 flat DR to stack with Pegasus Rift. To empower her Triangle Attack madness, Thea brings Air Orders 4. At start of turn, if unit is within 2 spaces of an ally, grant plus 6 attack and speed field buffs, the charge status, and the regular warp status to unit and flying allies within 2 spaces for 1 turn. Naturally, Air Orders is a flyer only skill, and this tier for upgrade pulls in another skill. Since it grants plus 6 attack and speed to flyers, this is the closest we've had to an updated Hone Flyers Emblem team buff. It even buffs the user. On top of the warp status from regular Air Orders 3, Charge lets flyers move through spaces in a line. This is warp movement, but you can't warp through terrain that usually blocks movement. For example, the new Divine Vein Ice Tiles. Do note, Air Orders 4 gives all these buffs to the user. It also activates with any ally within 2 spaces. This means you can run with non-flying teammates and the skill isn't worthless. Of course, Flyer Emblem is encouraged to buff multiple units. Imagine this with Soaring Guidance or Echo on the same team. Ice Tribe Thea can be quite deadly due to Triangle Attack's Brave attacks. Giving that ability to any unit can lead to some wild combos, but it requires 2 nearby allies who also have Triangle Attack ready. Air Orders 4 gives Thea and flying allies charge and warp to set up Triangle Attack. However, keep in mind for stuff like defense teams, charge might just send the ally to their death rather than setting up a warp for a future Triangle Attack use. Thea is not going to buff non-flyers though, so if Thea and some flyers were in the back line, then you may be able to overlap attack ranges, and then that's when the chaos ensues. As a note, Atri's new Refine gives her Schism support, which hard counters Triangle Attack, and we already had Ruse Force skills or Warp Bubble to deal with Triangle Attack setups. This is one of those tactics that is so strong that serious players probably have ways to deal with it. Overall, it still needs to be respected, and it's a nice ability to have if you need overwhelming firepower for say someone like Emblem Mike. In terms of personal combat, Thea has cooldown and 50% DR piercing. This can let her charge Iceberg or Glacies and maybe even Gale Force or a Sneaky Miracle. You don't have to run no quarter necessarily. For defense, while you want percent DR, Thea can stack flat DR via her weapon, Pegasus Rift, and Excel A skills. Excel is nice with Air Orders as 3 movement. Remember to give Thea plus 5 Dragon Flowers for plus 15 to all stats. For some other skills, Flared Sparrow can be good since Thea has Conto. Her weapon plus Air Orders provides force statuses if you want to use Prime. She can use Flow Desperation with Triangle Attack for instant quads. Aerial maneuvers could be fun, but no fall up there. Flow Guards for Scowl effect can be ran a special if Thea can't KO immediately. While you can lean into more damage for Triangle Attack, definitely some merit to just surviving to set up other allies. Flow Guard 4, defensive specials, maybe percent DR skills like Guard Bearing could be more annoying to face. Thea can also cause more chaos with skills like Soaring Echo, Ground Orders, or even her Odd Tempest. On an ally, things like Defense from Smoke for Pathfinder can also help Triangle Attack plays. Considering the Book 5 Tempest Trial side plot, we could get another Pathfinder unit sometime as well. In conclusion, Ice Tribe Thea can be pretty powerful, but that's due to Triangle Attack, which requires setup. Without it, she still has Conto 1 support, plus 50% DR piercing, and cooldown perks are good to work with for all kinds of skills. Solid unit, although I don't think she's personally a better Pegasus Rift user than the recent Mia. Our next 5-star seasonal is Ice Tribe Felicia. Joining her sister, Felicia is also on a horse, and looks like she kept the axe from her picnic all. For stats, Felicia has a fairly typical offensive spread: 41 HP, 43 attack, 47 speed, 35 defense, and 24 resistance, speed super boon, and one of the fastest X-Calves around. For old skills, Felicia has Luna. She then brings attack and speed excel for that flat damage reduction, and surprisingly, Odd Speed Wave 4 is making its second appearance. This skill can give no fallout to any unit, and it buffs speed for nearby allies as well. Felicia has the Ice Tribe axe. It's a bit unusual because if Felicia has her support partner on the team, then it gives them a status to neutralize dragon effectiveness if they are within 3 spaces. If Felicia's support isn't on the team, she has the status to the highest res ally instead. Felicia will then buff only allies with that status for +5 speed and res, neutralize speed and res debuffs, and grants Nelsy Disrupt in combat. Let's pause here. So Felicia is obviously supposed to pair with Corrin, but if you want to give any dragon anti-falchion capabilities, then Felicia is an option. The only other way to get this status is from Duo Idun, so Felicia isn't going to be buffing up a ton of units easily. With that said, I'm pretty sure this won't work on dragons who have the natural neutralize dragon effectiveness in their weapons. If you got Felicia, you can try to test this with someone like Sothis or Garen, but I'm pretty sure it has to be the status version. You don't have to buff up a dragon specifically though. Felicia will give anyone with this status the ability to ignore sweep effects, which I think is a brand new ability. Nelsy Disrupt got its Echo version, but Felicia can give this to armors, calves, flyers as well. That's a little concerning. Moving on, Felicia will have adaptive damage and sling for herself. If she initiates or one of her buffed up allies is within 3 spaces, then Felicia gets +5 to all stats with a bonus equal to 15% of her speed at the start of combat. She gets 20% speed as true damage, she has 50% DR piercing on hits, and finally Felicia has her own 40% damage reduction for first attacks with an S. With DR piercing, adaptive damage, and her own 40% DR, Felicia has a solid weapon, but nothing crazy. She doesn't get any of her support perks, but Felicia is not exactly made for tanking anyway. She's much more of an offensive initiator in terms of her combat. Felicia's main niche is definitely handing out Nelsy Disrupt. If you want to tank without being ignored by sweep effects, then Felicia's an interesting teammate. For her new inheritable B skill, Felicia has Speed and Res near Trace 4, enables Conto remaining +1 with a minimum Conto 2. Inflicts -4 speed and res on the foe. Unit deals +7 true damage on hit, and this includes AoE specials. Tier 4 near trace gives Conto 2 at least, which is quite good. The true damage and debuffs are nice, but this is very much I need Conto first over combat perk type skill. For flyers, they can now use attack and speed mastery for Conto 2. The difference is that near trace Conto is always active. If you want this specific near trace variant, this may be your only chance for a while. Not exactly a ton of cavalry dragons or flyers out there, and besides Patrine, you need an adaptive damage weapon like Felicia here to use this. Ice Tribe Felicia is an interesting unit just because she can hand out Nelsy Disrupt, very hard to get effect for non-infantry. You then have the +5 speed and res, the speed and res debuff neutralization, and in the first place, Felicia protects dragons from falchions. One issue is that status dealers can completely kill this niche. Nelsy Disrupt is a tanking skill, so if the enemy team has Nurgle, then after the first combat, you probably lose the status. May not even need one combat against stuff like Tina or Mythic Loki. If you want to add more support to Felicia, you could do a Rally plus Ruse setup that does fit a tanking playstyle. Besides her cool support gig, Felicia is a fairly standard offensive attacker. Having 50% DR piercing is excellent, and adaptive damage is useful against lopsided defenses. Thanks to Odd Speed Wave, Felicia has no follow-up if she outspeeds, and it does buff allies with +6 speed as well. With attack and speed excel, Felicia can get a little flat DR to go with her weapon's 40% DR. You then have near trace Conto to retreat. For other skills, Flared Sparrow can set up the Flame Tile Wall. If you can proc a special, Surge Sparrow can heal Felicia. She's not exactly the best for it, but Felicia's weapon is active at any HP, so you could run something like Fury Desperation or try to set Wings of Mercy on low HP. If you want to try Gale Force, you will basically need Heavy Blade. For other combat skills, Flow Guard is just too good to not get hit by a special. At the very least, you force the enemy to bring their own instant cooldown to offset it. Potent can provide some % DR with a chance for another hit. With Alarm C skills, Felicia can regain Conto from there, or you could try something like Diva's Red Smoke for Pathfinder. Overall, Ice Tribe Felicia is good, but her personal combat isn't anything we haven't seen around. Her very odd support effects are her standout traits, but she does provide 2 pretty rare effects. Our last unit for today is duo Ice Tribe Fjorm and Nifl. Not a very surprising pairing, and Fjorm is back again to cause some % DR chaos. Except it's unpierceable. This time, duo Fjorm is a Lance Army unit. She has 43 HP, 42 attack, 47 speed, 35 defense, and 40 res, 207 BST. That's going to tie Ascended Amelia for highest BST in the game. Fjorm will have attack and speed super boons. She's a faster armor again, but Fjorm's all about cutting down damage. For old skills, it is just attack and speed for a save 3. I'm actually surprised we've made it this far without a tier for a savior. Fjorm's new lance will be the Ice Crystal Spear, 16 might, accelerated specials. If foe initiates combat or has more than 75% HP, Fjorm gets plus 5 stats with bonus stats equal to the number of allies within 3 spaces. If you have 3 nearby allies, you're going to get plus 14 total stats. In addition, Fjorm gets flat damage reduction equal to 20% speed. She neutralizes all stat penalties. She has full no follow-up effects and heals 7 HP on her hits. If the foe is ranged, Fjorm also has Nullsea Disrupt. Like her ascended ult, Fjorm once again is a Nullsea Disrupt saving armor. This weapon has Slang, no follow-up, and defense neutralization. It also has some healing. For the flat damage reduction, Fjorm's going to be pairing this with her other new skills. For her special, Dual Fjorm has Dual Ice Mirrors. 2 cooldown defensive special that reduces range attacks by 40%. After the special triggers, Fjorm's next counterattack is empowered with the damage she reduced, and this always has a minimum amount equal to 40% resistance. The counterattack also has full DR piercing. To actually use this special, Fjorm has Distant Counter. Dual Ice Mirrors is the latest iteration of Fjorm's tanking prowess. It has the usual damage reflection and now full DR piercing. This special only works against ranged attacks, so attacking close counter users does not count. As such, Fjorm is once again trending toward being a pure range specialist. Ascended Fjorm brought Hardy Fighter, so naturally Dual Fjorm brings Hardy Fighter 4, aka Shield Fighter. It is a bit different from the tier 3. First, inflict -4 attack and speed on the foe. You're going to need to use a defensive special, and the Shield Fighter skill gives -1 cooldown before the foe attacks. This applies to first attacks and follow-up attacks. It also applies to the first Brave attack, which would include the second hit. Like Hardy Fighter, this skill makes defensive specials trigger twice. Percent DR is multiplicative, so Fjorm's Dual Ice Mirror's 40% DR becomes 64% total. Shield Fighter then reduces that down by 7 flat damage reduction. Shield Fighter is an interesting skill, but it's very suited to Fjorm's unique special. For other armors, you basically want a 1 cooldown special, meaning Slaying is a must, or you need Emblem Art's Ring. For Pavis or Aegis, you need both. This is a bit of a requirement, but compared to regular Hardy Fighter, you don't have to worry about any guard or tempo effects. I don't believe anything increases defensive special cooldown. Scout specifically only targets offensive damage specials. Now, something Shield Fighter does is that it can prep defensive specials for brave hits. This is similar to Legendary Female Korin, but it functionally is different. Since it gives -1 cooldown before follow-ups, the only time you can actually not trigger a defensive special is on the 4th hit of a quad attack. It also doesn't work on the extra potent follow-up, but I believe it has to be the actual 3rd extra hit, or for quads it has to be that cursed 5th hit. Unlike Hardy Fighter, Shield Fighter does not have defensive no follow-up anymore. This means free follow-ups can double. However, Shield Fighter will just ready up the defensive special, so it's kind of a so what if you do double type dare. Overall, I wouldn't immediately say this is an upgrade over Hardy Fighter because you need to get your cooldown levels in check. If you do have a 1 cooldown special though, then yeah, this is generally an improvement simply because nothing stops that instant cooldown, at least I don't think. Last new inheritable skill for today is Deluge Boost 3, grants plus 5 HP. If above 50% HP, unit gets plus 7 speed and res, and if near an ally with more than half health, you also get guard. Boost skills can be nice to stack HP with the Squad 8 seals. It also is arguably an upgrade over the dual stances since you need to be near an ally for guard, which is pretty easy, and then you're going to get extra HP. Boost also works on either phase, even if the guard part is inactive. You can get Deluge Boost 3 from Wind Boost 3 or Water Boost 3. The cheapest way to get these are 4-star Jared or Astron. Now, Fjorm has one more ability, and that's her dual skill. It applies Divine Vein Ice to all spaces within 2 spaces, and these are going to last for 2 turns. First off, unless I'm missing something, this dual skill has a 205 BST boost for arena scoring. Fjorm has 207 BST. Moving on, the dual skill deploys Divine Vein Ice tiles within 2 spaces. It covers all spaces, and for the first time we finally have a Divine Vein that lasts longer than 1 turn. The number on the ground finally became a 2. To actually get to Fjorm, you have to destroy the outside ice. Since the terrain lasts for 2 turns, you could actually just stall an enemy as they chip away. Now if Fjorm or an ally fights on top of the ice tiles, it's not going to get destroyed after. Normally this doesn't matter, but since it lasts an extra turn this time, it means you can just hide behind the ice on turn 2 if needed. It took a year, but time to see how many other Divine Veins we're going to get to see last on the ground for an extended period. Dual Fjorm is going for the range specialist savior role. dual ice mirrors doesn't trigger against melee foes, so don't expect much if a melee unit walks up to her. This is partly why she has the dual skill for the ice wall. Normally, Fjorm wants to use Savior. She has Distant Counter, no C Disrupt, no Follow Up, and then Shield Fighter charges and double triggers her special on almost every single attack. 64% unpierceable DR plus around 17 or higher flat DR is going to be a pain. The only real addition Fjorm needs is Hardy Bearing. This shuts down Desperation, since Desperation quads are one way to get 2 Shield Fighter on that 4th hit. It also shuts down Desperation potent follow-ups. Since Fjorm has no C Disrupt, she's always going to counter back. Dual Ice Mirrors will actually store all activations when countering the empowered counter. This means if a Brave attacker were to have dealt 25 damage on both attacks, the 2 Dual Ice Mirror procs will make the following counter deal 50 true damage, and it has full DR piercing. One way to try and whittle down Fjorm is an AoE special, but then you still need to actually kill her in combat. With Breath of Life, all of that will get even tougher, and Fjorm could use a Divine Vein Stone teammate to help counter AoE. A quad attacker that can survive Fjorm's counter might find a way to kill her, but that would mean outspeeding Fjorm, and how many speedy Brave attackers could survive a hit from her that has full DR piercing plus whatever damage Ice Mirror stored away? It's looking a bit rough. I'm not sure what other skills Fjorm could use. Boosts plus 5 HP is good due to Fjorm's percent DR. You can use Squad Ace Seals for more HP, but again, Hardy Bearing is that checkmate against Desperation. You could try to go full defense and res stacking, but Fjorm does use speed to double if needed, plus it does give her flat DR. In conclusion, Ice Tribe Dual Fjorm is gonna be a problem. Desperation could be a way to get through Shield Fighter, but Hardy Bearing ends that idea. Instant damage and AoEs can chunk her, but with how common Breath of Life is, that could be an issue. You might be able to do something like Feud or Fatal Smoke, but I wouldn't say there's like a clear counter here. It feels like Thea bringing Triangle Attack isn't a coincidence, but I don't know if even setting that up is enough. You may just have to avoid Fjorm through melee combat. That's going to be it for this banner breakdown. Still not actually clear if this is an Ice Tribe banner, but that's what we're going to call it for now. Do we have room for another elemental theme next year? Now, next up, we are going to be talking about the Tempest Trials. There's a new Regan coming, and we have Ice Tribe Nils to accompany this banner. We'll talk about it more next time. Thank you for watching, good luck on your summons, and I will see you in the next video.